This lesson is about analyzing the characteristics of different types of graphs. The things I'm going to go through are pictographs, bar graphs, and along with bar graphs to do double bar graphs, line graphs, and along with line graphs to do double line graphs. And then we'll finish up with circle graphs. Characteristics, just talk about the um, things that make these graphs different from other graphs. Also, I'm going to talk about when would be the best time to use these certain types of graphs. Now, the reason we have several different types of graphs is because some of them are better to use at certain times than others are. All right, so the first is the pictograph. Called a pictograph because the picture is used for the data amount. So when you see this fish right here, every time you see one of those, that represents 10 fish. So there's no need for this axis down here, this line, to be filled with data amounts, because every time you see that fish, that counts for 10 fish. Many times you'll see a portion of a fish, for instance. I didn't put any in this particular one, but if you had just a half of a fish, then you would know that that would be 5 fish instead of 10 fish. And so that's how the pictograph works. At a bar graph, you do have to have these. I'm missing part of it here, where you might have, well, you definitely would have colors here. Try that again. If we had colors, and then over here it would you would have students, I suppose, or kids. When you labeled this axis. So what we have right here is called the scale. The scale goes up by 5, 10, 15, 20. That's your scale. And then your labeling of the axis is this students portion. It tells you what these numbers are. This one goes up to 16 or 17. And that's not 17 apples or 17 days. It's 17 students whose favorite color is blue. This one goes up to 11 or 12, somewhere in there. That's, again, 11 or 12 students whose favorite color is red. So that's what we talk about when we're saying label the axis, is to put that, just tell what those numbers stand for there. All right, so the same thing I do over here. Here's the scale. It goes 0 to 4, all the way up to 8. And those numbers, again, are not, they aren't apples or weeks. Those aren't stand for days. You can see that this one is right between 6 and 8. So in 2001, this school, St. Thomas, had 7 snow days. Okay, so when you get those, the scale is what you're counting by, and the label is what those numbers stand for. All right, you notice that when you make a double bar graph, those bars are touching one another. They're right next to it, and then there's a space in between the next group. So a double bar graph will have that, where you can compare two different schools, in this case, right in the same graph. Over here, if we had another school we are comparing favorite colors of, for instance, we could take that school and put it in here and arrange it in a double bar graph and have both those schools represented in that one graph. All right, and then down here I would put school year, just labeling that axis. Okay. All right, so this is a double bar graph. The double line graph and the line graph, these show how things change over time. So if you're looking at how things have changed year after year after year, in this case all the way through from 2001 to 2010, you will want to use a line graph. They're really handy that way, um, to show how things have changed year after year after year. All right. Again, over here we've got 0 all the way through 9, and that's our scale. We're counting by 1. But for labeling the axis, we'd say deer. Okay, so if I have this one, for instance, this stands for 3 deer that were hit with cars in the month of December in Fillmore County. So that's the information that you're interested in. It has that's what those numbers stand for. Down here, all of these stand for the year. So as you go up from '01 all the way up through 2010, that is just showing the year that you're at. I can do the same thing over here. Okay. All right. So again, this is showing change over time. As things change year after year or day after day, depending on what your data is, and you want to show how that's changed through that time, the line graph is the best way to go. The double line graph, can't see the whole screen here. I'm just going to go down a little. You can see that the green line, you're going to have a key on here that shows that the green line shows Houston County, whereas the black line, so you can see I just took the data from this, brought it over and put it in here, and compared it with some data from Houston County. So you can use things like this to help you make decisions um, about that data. You can see that something happened here from 2009, for instance. That was the high point. There were 9 deer hit in December. And maybe the DNR would say something like, well, there's too many deer out. You can see that they're having lots of collisions with cars on the road. That means the deer population is way higher than it normally should be, and maybe they instituted another deer hunt. And so you can see the following year there are only 3. So maybe that worked um, really well for them. So anyway, that's people don't just collect this data just for the fun of it. They are collecting that data for specific reasons, and they want to make decisions based on that data. All right, on to a circle graph then. The circle graph shows everything that you have and then divides it up into groups. So if you take a look at our time at school, for instance, we have, right around 8 hours by the time you go from 7:30 to 3:30. If you were here all those hours, that would be 8 hours. Taking a look at the time when school starts, right at 8:30. This is just a rough idea about how that's broken up. So you take your whole school day and break it up into the pieces of your school day and how big those are compared to all the others. Okay, and there aren't any empty spots. If you had your paycheck, if you were mowing lawns, and you had $50 that you made mowing lawns in that month, you'd take all of your pieces, break all those pieces up into how you spent your money, and in the end, you would have that total that would all add up to $50. Same thing here, you take all the things we do in a day, in a school day, and add it up. There aren't any empty pieces that we just don't do anything, or that time is lost. All right, so whenever you're taking a whole thing and looking at how the pieces inside that whole, that's a really good time to use a circle graph, or sometimes they're called a pie chart also. All right, so here's a review then of these different types of graphs and charts that we use. And again, they get used at different times for different reasons, and that's why we have so many different types.